Hey everyone, and welcome to Recharge the Podcast. I'm David Coe. I had so much to talk about with journalist Amy Harder. One episode just wasn't enough. I hope you enjoy part two, and thank you for listening. Welcome back, Amy.
Thanks, David.
So I want to pick up where we kind of left off a little bit. We were talking about CEOs when we last left off, but you've also changed course here as we were talking about earlier, and as you went back to some of your early startup roots. So I want to go back to when you made the decision to rejoin Axios. Why did that again feel like the right move? I know it was around kind of it kept you closer to your roots, but has it been everything that you've wanted and more?
It has been, yes, it has been everything I wanted and a lot more
Oh,
because of the beat itself, just being the AI boom plus the Iran war. So, yes, my job last year winded down as Bill Gates, who funded my last initiative, he changed his priorities. And I loved that experience. It got me into a leadership role and I learned how to be a manager and a leader, and that was really great. And then that ended, and I was a bit of at a pivot point. And I could have just run off into the sunset for a little while, but the moment felt like an important one with AI on the horizon. And, as a journalist, the joke is you're only as good as your last story. And I didn't feel that that moment was the right one to really step out of the conversation. Now, I'll sit here and say that I wasn't 100% sure then, and I'm not 100% sure now. Like, there's always going to be a part of me that wishes I had run off into the sunset for a little while. And I want to do that someday. I've never really taken, call it a sabbatical, call it whatever you want. I haven't done that in my
what's
career.
the longest amount of time you've taken off?
3 weeks.
What?
Is
That's
that
it?
a exact? Yeah. So some people say in journalism, that's a lifetime, David.
Is it?
Yes, yes. I think journalists, I'm biased, obviously, but I think we're some of the hardest working people. And we do it so instinctively that we forget that there's a wide world
Oh, I did not know that.
of not working constantly forever out there. But so I'm going to have a little bit of mixed feelings about how I manage that, but I'm still glad that I made the decision I did. I think in life we're always forced to be in a 100% yes or 100% no, but life isn't like that.
Right.
And so neither was that decision. But Axios, one of the reasons why I went back is because I wasn't looking to leave when I was recruited away in 2021. When I was still at Axios, it's a very well run company. The people there are great. There's a commitment to radical transparency, which I really appreciate. And so it's great to be back. Mike Allen and Jim Vandehei, the leaders there, are really accessible and just really great people. So it's great to be back. I will say the news volume is intense, but that would have been anywhere in journalism. And I also would have had the opportunity to go do something that wasn't journalism. And that didn't feel right either at the time. So, I think somebody told me once that, careers and lives aren't necessarily up and to the right. It's more rolling hill
Yeah.
in different directions. And for me, I want to do what's most exciting for me. And that goes back to my comment about not taking the CNN job, for example. That might have been the more obvious choice for more people. But I'm going to do what's best for me. That sounds a little selfish, but what's best for me is also what's best for my employer.
Yeah, and I don't think that's selfish because that's how you can get the best out of you too, because that's where you'll feel most like to give 100%.
Totally. It's the oxygen mask
Yeah.
metaphor that applies quite well.
Yes, yes, it is. So we hit on sleep actually in the last episode, right in the beginning. But let's talk about your sleep for a minute. You've got different news cycles that are hitting. So you've got things that are planned, but things happen as we discussed that are unplanned. And so how is your relationship with sleep? Is it consistent? Is it up and down?
Yes, we did not get a chance to talk about this in Davos, David, and I'm so excited that we can talk about it now. I love sleep. I prioritize it sometimes to a fault, and I get very good sleep. I prioritize it over a lot of other things, and I think it's so important. So I'm very pro sleep.
Plus one to everything you said. How do you do that? What's some of your kind of sleep tips that you have to have good quality sleep for our listeners?
Well, I often have, so I turn on when I'm getting ready for bed, I turn on Enya music
Okay.
sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
big Enya
Yeah.
fan
Music. Love that.
or other spa type
Yeah.
music, and it kind of cues my brain to slow
Yeah.
down. I do listen to Calm
Yeah.
every night. I did plug that in Davos, and I know you
Yeah.
appreciated that. But I've been using Calm since 2014,
Wow.
and I use it almost every night. And although I use it at night, I don't need help falling asleep. I just use it as a way to give me lessons and
Yeah.
centering moments. One more plug for Calm, which I think is important. That comment I made earlier about like sometimes life is about avoiding the bad than chasing the good.
Yeah.
That's how I use Calm
Mm,
because Calm doesn't make my life great.
mm,
It can make it less frustrating.
mm.
And that nuance to me is everything when the world is kind of crazy like it is now. Last night was a great example. Had to get up extra early for a 6 a.m. flight. And so we could have watched a little bit more TV, but I just turned off the TV and it just went straight to bed. And we were traveling as well. So you just have to make those calls.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means, a little bit less conversation or you can't make that phone call. Also, try to limit alcohol.
Yeah.
I was out at dinner with family last night and I had a sparkling water, and that's just how you have to do it.
Yeah. That's great advice. I find that too. I find alcohol late at night really throws me off.
I think it was your book or maybe one of your podcasts, you said you get 6.5 hours of sleep. You
I
went from 4 to 6.
I did, but I really that's really picked up is I really work on now more of the quality of sleep over the quantity at times. I know the quantity will fluctuate, and I think for myself, like I try to prioritize it and really protect it like yourself. But I do that by not looking at my phone so much right before I go to bed and not looking at that as the first thing I do when I wake up. And I found that little ha I know it's hard for journalists because you have to be
Yeah.
there right for those beeps, but I just try if I don't do that as much, I find that whatever hours it is, it's just more restful.
Yeah. I don't have any sleep aid that tells me how I'm sleeping. I don't know if I want to go there
Yeah.
because I'm sleeping fine now and
Yeah.
we don't need to measure everything in our
Right.
lives, right?
Right.
But I appreciate that. On the phone component, I still look at my phone
Yeah.
the first thing I wake up, and I'm wondering if I don't do that, it might stress me out more.
Yeah.
That's due to two things. One, being a journalist,
Yeah.
but two, living on the West Coast is a challenge. I'm 3 hours behind
Right.
as soon as I wake up. And so I have toyed with not checking the phone first thing in the morning. On the weekends, for sure,
Sure.
but on the weekdays, it's hard. And that can sometimes the other day, and this was on a weekend, I woke up to a work problem and it immediately set me off for the day. And that wasn't great. And, sometimes that's the way life goes.
That's right.
But, yeah. So I think sleep is so important. And, women often need, I think the science shows that we actually need closer to 9 hours of sleep. And I hardly ever get nine. So I try to get 7 to 8. And I'm impressed that you're a well functioning human at
Yeah.
6. But
Well,
even
not always well functioning. But try. I but you also travel a lot, just like you've traveled this past week, in addition to sleep. But there's the physical components of that, during the day and really making sure. What toll does that take on you mentally and physically with all that travel that you do?
it is a lot. I'm finding myself traveling almost weekly, and it's sort of
Weekly?
an accidental thing. I think in-person events are increasing, and I'm trying to lean into that. But it often means going back to the trade-offs you have to make as a human. I often just say no to things late at night. Tonight, I have 3 climate week related parties, and
Three.
three, and I will probably stop by one and not and skip the other, and then
Okay.
I have a dinner, so I will go to that.
Three and a dinner?
Well, no, sorry, two and a dinner. 3 events, 2 parties, one dinner.
This is
And,
where we need two of you.
I mean, I'm gonna combine the marathon running robot, just snap
Right.
on my face and there. I honestly, I think we will probably be there. And somebody will be
That's a
there.
whole new episode.
Definitely. And drinking a lot of club soda. I mean, I'm not drinking at all, but it's definitely that just complicates everything. And so I do try to drink less. But another big thing that I want to lean into is that life is about seasons. I lived in DC for 12 years. I would go to all sorts of parties, the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Yeah.
I loved that. It was fun. I definitely enjoyed a drink or two. I'm past that season
Yeah.
now, and I'm leaning into that. And that's just recognizing and having self-awareness that your life is about different seasons, and that's okay,
Yeah.
I think is important. And I'm definitely, although I have always gotten a lot of sleep.
Yeah. Well, that is very good advice for all of our listeners out here. I want to switch and shift gears to your podcast because in addition to all the things you have going on, your dinner, two parties, your work and all this, you also have a very successful podcast. And so, can you talk to us about Shocked with Michael at the University of Chicago? Just tell us a little bit about it for our listeners.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm a fellow at the University
Yeah.
of Chicago. I've done a lot of work with them over the years. And Shocked is a podcast where we're trying to reach people like you, David, who want to learn more about energy and climate, but you might not be an expert, but you care about the world that you live in. And we really try to talk about these topics in a narrative, interesting, storytelling sort of way. And I really find it interesting because it's different than my sort of quick hits that I do at
Mm.
Axios. And it's nice to be able to meet our various people who follow my work where they're at. Some people are podcast listeners. Some people like to read a quick hit on Axios. And I like to meet people where they are. And I then also learn how to deliver the news differently. Doing the podcast, we have season 1 under our belt, season 2 is on the way. I learned a lot on how to do a podcast, and I'm still learning. One thing that's harder than you might think is narrating an episode. It's actually very hard, and it's harder to read a script and not sound like you're reading.
That's right.
In fact, the first season I was busy at the times that they needed me to do the narration, that we actually had an AI voice that sounded very much like me fill in for me until I could do it. And one time, a couple of times, it fooled me. I thought it was,
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. So that's one of the early ways that I
Oh
interacted.
no.
I know. And until
It's
AI
fooling
Amy,
you.
AI Amy is what we called her.
AI.
She couldn't say live. She always said live. She couldn't say that word correctly.
Mm,
So that was the dead giveaway.
mm.
But it's such a great podcast. Definitely encourage everybody to listen to it. I think it's like these are such important topics. And one of our reviewers was like, been waiting for a podcast like this. It kind of explains things in a way that's entertaining. That's what we're going for.
That's great. And it's a longer form. How
It's
long?
about 30 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And,
great.
these topics are so heavy, the energy, climate. People say it's kind of like eating your vegetables. But if you fry vegetables and put a lot of cheese on them, they can still be really good. So that's what we're hoping for.
I like putting cheese on my vegetables.
Yes.
Okay, so during one of your podcasts, okay, you mentioned that durable changes start with listening. And I had kind of wrote and highlight that because in my book, I had a chance to interview John Scully, who was a former CEO of Apple. And I really appreciated how he talked about himself and his role, which was chief listening officer. And he said, that's my role. Why is listening important and how does this philosophy show up in your work and in life?
I think listening is such an underappreciated skill overall in life. And it sounds like a simple thing. When you look at somebody, people think, oh, they're listening. Chances are they might not be listening. Their mind might be getting ready to say what they want to say. They might be daydreaming. Listening is an extremely active sport. And I will be the first to admit that I find it hard to actively listen a lot. It's something I have to do as a living, as my job, and so it can be tiring to do it constantly with everybody. But when you do it, you actually hear what the person is saying, and then you can respond. Not to throw something back at you, but in your book, you quoted somebody, or maybe you said it, that a conversation is like a tennis match.
Yes.
You very much need both
Yeah,
sides to participate.
that's right.
And if one side isn't listening, then you don't have a tennis match.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have that little machine
You
that
have the machine that hits the
keep,
ball to the same
yeah,
spot all the time.
exactly. That's kind of what a lot of
Yeah.
conversations are like
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah.
And going back to your dinner, that was your dinner was like a great tennis match.
With lots of different people all over the court.
And how the metaphor falls apart.
I think so. Well, I want to talk about one of the things you had mentioned around climate change and energy and how just complex and nuanced they are. And in your opinion, there's two or three things. Are there two or three things that you wish just people understood about climate change and what's happening out there today?
I think one that learning is such a powerful tool, which I would put as an adjacent skill to listening, because you learn when you listen. when you learn about climate change and what you can do as an individual human or what you cannot do, it can feel defeating sometimes, but it can also be exciting. Uh, in Seattle, we're a part of this program called Ridwell that helps you recycle things that are not easily recyclable, including a lot of different forms of plastic. Are we solving the plastic pollution problem by being a member of that organization? No. But are we learning about how we can take part in lessening our footprint? Yeah, and that's great for, $18 a month. And it's, we have all our signs up on the wall and make sure that we're doing it right. It's a learning, and I'm learning what's recyclable and what's not. When I moved back to DC, I hadn't had a car in 12 years, and I wanted something that was affordable, clean, and safe. And after looking at a lot of different cars, I settled on the Toyota Prius, which is the most boring car you can find. And my husband jokes that because he drives it more than
Of
I do.
course, that's what happens.
Exactly. People often get into it thinking it's an Uber or a Lyft. And I'm like, I don't care. I like my car. It's a means to get me somewhere.
Right,
But everybody's driving SUVs now.
right,
So we're not as safe in a sedan. But,
right.
anyways, I think we're pretty safe. And, anyways, I think learning is such an important skill. And also not feeling defeated. And, there's also a lot of misinformation out there right now. So I would encourage people to double and triple check things that they hear.
Yeah. And you have so many different bodies of work that you do, whether it's obviously Axios, the podcast, or things you've done before. When people think about you, how do you want people to think about you?
Oh, geez. I would like people to think that she's a nuanced reporter trying to get the story right. And further, well, I hesitate on this because I also want to be working towards something bigger. And I don't know what that is because lately, with the way my beat is, it's a lot of defensive journalism. And by that, I mean I'm responding to a lot of incoming news. But over a course of a year or multiple years, I want to be working towards something. And I hope people can see that over the time that they've been following my work, they see that I'm providing a narrative that helps them understand the world.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that nuance. I mean, I think so many of us often feel like we have to have the answer on that. And I really appreciate your response here of just saying, I want to work on something bigger, but I may not know exactly what it is because the world is moving so fast. And I feel the same way. I feel like I want to make a difference, but I don't know quite know how at times. I'm like, we have all this experience but again, the sand is shifting very quickly. And so just how we're going to make that difference is unknown, but you just know that you want to make a difference.
Yeah, and that's an important initial step that you recognize that I'm not necessarily doing it at this very second, and I want to do it going forward. Yeah, and I need to get on offense sometime soon, I hope, if the news cycle lets up.
Do you think you'll let up?
I don't know. As we record this, the strait is very much closed, the Strait of Hormuz. So I don't know.
Yes. So I want to ask you a personal question before we go into a little bit of my rapid questions. Is when you're not the podcast or you're not Amy, the journalist, what does a perfect unplugged day for you look like?
Well, I would wake up and do a trail run.
Oh, okay, back to that.
Definitely
Okay.
trail running in the forest near Seattle is just my happy place. There was this one run I did in January of 2022, and it was a foggy morning. The sun was lifting, or the fog was lifting and the sun was coming. It was the most magical run of my whole life. And I want days like that. So trail running is my happy place. Maybe have a brunch with a friend or my husband after that, and then a nice dinner out, one glass of wine, and then asleep by 9:30.
That does sound like the perfect day. Perfect unplugged day. So I know we're almost out of time here, but before we wrap, I'd like to end every episode just by asking a couple of questions. Three, they're not rapid fire. But what's something about you that might surprise people?
Well, I just wrote about this, so if people have read that article, they will know, but it did surprise everybody who read it, which is that I'm an introvert. Journalists kind of present as extroverts, but I'm very much an introvert. I know you know this, but it's all about where you get your energy. And so I definitely get my energy from recharging alone, and I think that surprises people.
Yes, because of how just you're in all these social settings and you're meeting all these people, just like your dinner and two parties and everything else. So people just naturally think you're super social.
Yeah, and I think people sometimes say or assume that you're only if you're socially awkward, that means you're an introvert. And there are some people who are socially awkward that might be introverts. I don't think I'm usually not socially awkward. I have had my moments for sure, but by default I'm not. But I'm still very much an introvert.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I think there's this weird maybe not weird, but just this general societal expectation that everybody needs to be extroverted.
Yes. And we all like our own me time. Like I like when I have alone time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember one, I think it was the between Christmas and New Year's 2022, and there some COVID variant was raging and my flight was canceled due to weather. I had 5 days all by myself.
Oh, wow.
And I loved it. Now, of course, I also need my family time.
Sure.
It's a balance. But I think people find that surprising if they don't know me.
Well, introvert. Okay. You inspire so many people. Who inspires you?
Well, I hope I inspire people. I don't think I have a good answer for you on this question.
Mm.
I will admit I've been thinking about this question because I know you ask it. I listen to your podcast. I try to think of somebody, I hope this doesn't sound. It hopefully sounds authentic. I hope it doesn't sound anything else. I don't think I have a single person who inspires me. I think collectively speaking, I'm inspired by people who show up authentically, and that's hard to do in general, I think. And I think it's right now, AI is accelerating the way humanity operates. And I think it's forcing these conversations more. So I admire and am inspired by people who engage in that conversation authentically.
Hmm.
That's kind of a cop out, but I hope it's
No, it's
authentic.
not. It's not. It's very authentic. Now, I think I can answer my last question for you, so I'm going to have to shift it a little bit, which is like your favorite way to recharge, and I think yours is trail running.
But I actually haven't said that this my secret way to recharge
Hit
is
it.
to hang out with my cat.
I would not
Yeah.
have known that. I would have said trail running, and I was going to ask you about what's your favorite music that you like to listen to while running.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say Enya, but I don't listen to Enya while running. But no, hanging out with my cat is a great way to recharge as well for me. Music, I don't listen to like Peter, Paul, and Mary radio station is actually something I listen to while running. I know it's weird, but it's relaxing. It's a little nostalgic. Yeah, I'm sure you had that on your bingo
I
card.
I had that on my card. No, I did not. Okay.
Imagine Dragons is another.
Imagine Dragon, of
I
course.
need to show you the range of
Absolutely.
my music
That's great.
choices, but it's definitely not. It's not like really fast,
Yeah.
intense music.
Yeah.
It's relaxing music, but
Amy?
not Enya level
And no,
relaxed.
yeah, because you'd be like trailing up.
Yeah, I would be like
Like,
taking a nap
yeah.
outside.
Amy, this has been so great. If folks want to follow your reporting or connect with you, where should they go?
They can go to axios.com and sign up for our newsletter, Future of Energy.
Okay, everyone sign up for Axios.com, Future of Energy.
Yes, but I wear, a couple different
Yeah.
hats. So I have a Substack, Harder Line. That's sort of a repository for all of my work,
Hmm.
including my University of Chicago podcast called Shocked.
Shocked. Okay. And this has been just such an amazing conversation. For all of you listeners who are out there today, if you've enjoyed this conversation, please like and share this episode and subscribe to the channel so you can catch all our great episodes of Recharge. See you all next time and thank you. Thanks again, Amy.
You're so welcome. Thank you, David.